Testing, 1, 2. Welcome back to the Bliss of the Abyss. My name is Robert Neumark Jones, also known as Ruskin Denmark. How are you? How are you doing? The time is 6:48 on the 15th of August 2023. Or is it July? Who knows, eh? No, it's August. Time has flown, and so have I. I've been doing a lot of flying lately. Apologies for the slight lacuna, the summer holiday, the break in the podcast for a little while. But I've had to go to New York. I've just come back. And before that, I was in Indonesia for the old honeymoon. Oh, yeah, he did it. I went on honeymoon. I think we talk about a bit in this episode featuring the amazing Alex Morgan. And we talk about the Japlan. You'll see what that means later. This episode was recorded actually a little while ago. It was a few days before I went on the honeymoon, and I just didn't have time to upload it. As you can imagine, that was very busy. But thanks for asking. It was a good honeymoon. We went all around. We went island hopping. We went to, obviously, Bali. That's where everyone goes, but there's lots of different parts of it, and lots of other islands, including Komodo, to see the dragon, and we saw it almost straight away. They were very serious about not getting too close to it. Some people still did. Come here, little dragon, and they're not little. Although the little ones, trivia alert, the little ones have to climb the trees sometimes, the babies, because the adults will cannibalize. They will eat them, but the adults become too big to climb the trees. They're literally massive, as you can imagine, figuratively humongous, and they can't climb up after the little ones, so the little ones are scampering up the trees. And get this, sometimes when they eat, I think some people know that they bite the ankle and their saliva is full of horrible bacteria and the animal dies from infection. That's obviously one way they kill. That's how they kill like the water buffalo, bison type creatures. But when they kill goats, they can just run. They can run up to, I think it's 13 miles, 20 kilometers an hour. So they can run really fast, catch a goat, kill it, bite it to death. You maybe use the claws too, and the immense power and strength and weight. And they can dislocate their jaw like a snake. So they start to, if it's a baby goat, if it's small enough, they can just eat the thing whole, head first, and they put it in there. But sometimes it's too big to completely fit down the gullet. So what they do is they ram it against a tree, and it pushes the animal inside down into its stomach where it stays. And they only need to eat sort of 12 times a year because they eat a whole goat at once. Yes, so I went there. Also got bit by a dog. Milo, he's a good boy though. He's a good boy. That's what the guy on the phone said. No, he's a good boy. Don't worry. And Caitlin was like, are we going to get rabies? Are you going to die? And the local guys were just like rubbing alcohol, being like, nah, it's not a problem, is it? But obviously it is a problem. There's a full story there that I shall regale with another time. But don't worry, I'm not dead from rabies. Got all my shots. Just have to get the insurance company involved, as you can imagine. Really looking forward to that. Not putting that off at all. No. It's top of my priorities. But anyway, after that was New York. And New York is obviously an amazing place. And I left this country just a few days after coming back from my honeymoon, so I barely had any time to do anything. I left this country, I was pissing it down, and then a fucking few days later, I'm at the beach in New York. The surf is strong. I'm riding the waves with my buddy. The sun is out. I mean, it's such a great city, honestly. New York! And it's very, very infectious when you're there to kind of pick it up and you just get that American energy. If you've been into America enough times, it's kind of like you know how to live there. So you just walk about. You're like, hey, I'm an American. This is what I do. This is who I am. Yo, yo, yo. I'll have the deli meats. Give me half a pound of cheese. And white cheddar. It's always white cheddar. It's totally not a thing in the UK, but a massive thing over there. White cheddar. And I was out on the island, so the seafood. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about it. Friend of the podcast, Dave Fox, met up with him. That's a brilliant story. He brought pizzas, and we sat on the beach and drank a few glasses of wine and watched the sunset over Islip. Shout out Dave Fox. So anyway, that's enough about me. Let's get on to the episode featuring the amazing raconteur that is Alex Morgan. Mr. Morgan, what can I say about him that hasn't already been said already? He's an intelligent, talented, beautiful man, and he can tell a story. So if you like hearing about stories, if you like hearing about the Japlan, if that interests you, and it should, then stay tuned for this amazing episode with Mr. Alex Morgan. And Caitlin's in there too. Yeah.
This is the honeymoon. This is the honeymoon.
I'm thinking, how many freebies can I get on this? How many people are going to be swayed? How many people are going to be like, honeymoon is it? Sure thing, mate.
Have you set up a crowdfund yet?
That's a good idea.
The official honeymoon.
This time it's personal.
Yeah. £19,000.
But Caitlin, I was thinking that I might travel on, and this is a surprise for you, Alex, that I've waited. By the way, welcome to the show, of course. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, for sure. I was thinking I might go to Indonesia on this. All on the mic, baby.
Can I see it?
Tell people what's going on, Alex Morgan.
So Rob has just handed me his Irish passport. Oh my God. I'm so jealous.
Yes.
Oh, it's all new and Irish.
Mm-hmm. And European.
Well, so, I'm applying for a Czech one.
Yes, you did say. Is there not a language requirement?
No, because it's through blood.
Ah.
Yes.
Done.
How close does the blood relation have to be?
It's my grandfather.
So
same. One grandparent.
Oh,
was
congratulations.
I feel so
congratulations.
happy. Thank you.
It's lovely.
To be sure. Isn't it beautiful?
I wonder if I could just
look how weird
flip over
I somehow look more Irish in it as well. I don't know how I did it.
Well, it's because the picture is in a reflection of a Guinness glass. I think
I made sure to do that.
Yeah. This is amazing. Congratulations.
I know. I was thinking, shall I travel on it, Caitlin? What do you think?
Why not? Do it.
Christen it, right?
Yeah, with your honeymoon, with your official honeymoon trip.
Think?
Yeah.
Sounds nice, doesn't it?
So I have actually never been on Czech soil, and I vowed that to never go on.
Never set
they
foot.
give me a passport. Yeah, I know, but I quite like the idea of setting foot on Czech soil with a Czech
the first
passport.
time as a Czech national.
Yeah,
that would be very cool.
Yeah, and if they give me a passport, I'll learn the language.
Surely they will. If it's a grandparent, it's but he's a linguist.
I know.
Well, no, but it is. I mean, Duolingo's got a bit of, but it's taking a long time. All the documents are in. So actually, there's quite a funny story with the documents of what one needs to provide to the Czech consulate. I'm sure you've got many as well.
Yes.
So when, I suppose one would call it partition occurred, so Czechoslovakia split into the Czech Republic, or Czechia, as some people call it,
please.
and Slovakia. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
That if you want a Czech passport, you have to get confirmation from Slovakia that you are indeed not a Slovak citizen. So I had to translate my documents into Slovak first and go to the Slovak consulate and knock on the door and say, "Hello, can you give me a document that says I'm not Slovak?" And they were like, "Oh, okay, that's weird. If you want." I was like, "Yeah, I do." Like, okay, it'll take 3 months. And then it did take 3 months. And I got a text message 3 months later in a foreign language, and I thought it was spam. And it was just a text message. I don't think my name was even on it. It was just a text message in what was clearly looked like a Northern or Eastern European language.
Right.
And I was about to delete it, and I thought, I'll just put it into Googs.
Yeah, see what's what.
Dear Googs. And it said, "Hello, your Slovak documentation confirming you're not Slovak citizens ready. So can do come and collect it." I was like, "Oh, great." And so I went straight. Yeah, he was just texting me. Slovakia texted me. Dear, from Slovakia. And so I went to the Slovak consulate and I looked on Google and it said it's open today. I was like, great. I was like, I'm on it. I'm going to go. I'm just going to go now. And I went. And of course it was closed.
Of course.
And I was. They've got these railings and I sort of felt like I clasped the railings and so I went because these things, as you know, take so long. And then a man came out of the consulate and he saw me sort of wailing and beating my breast,
gnashing the teeth.
Yeah. And he said, I don't know why
Everyone's got their...
hello.
That's the Slovak accent,
Yeah,
mate.
it's like, hello. Are you okay? I was like, no, I got this text message. And he was like, can I see it? I was like, yeah. So I showed him the text message. He was like, give me a moment. I was like, and he went in. Yes. 5 minutes later, he came out. He said, can I have your passport and documents? I was like, yes. So I gave my passport to this stranger through railings. And I think it's near. It's near. Not
Fitzrovia. A lot of them are in.
Actually, no. Slovak.
Posh West London. Or?
Yeah, it's Posh West London.
Yeah.
Near Massive Park. I can't remember which one. But and then 5 minutes later, he came out with the document.
Oh,
and he was like, here you go. I was like, oh God, thank you so much. I was like, that's okay. And then I left. I was like, got my document. Yes. So then I had to translate everything into Czech.
Of course.
But not that document, luckily. I didn't have to do that. Write an email saying, hello. Dear.
You better be consistent through the whole day. I want only this voice.
Dear Czech consulate, can I have an appointment?
I promise I'm not Slovak.
To get my citizenship. And they were like, okay. Come on the 21st of September. I was like, thank you.
Ooh, that's soon.
So no, this was
2
years, like last year. So I went and I handed everything in and I had everything. And it was a really nice guy who dealt with me. And so my aunt is doing the same thing. So he put our documents together.
Nice.
And he said, I've got to do the voice.
Yeah, you do. I'm afraid.
Sorry. He said, I'll put your documents together with your aunt and we'll send it off to the Czech Republic, Czechia. And maybe after Christmas we'll call you in and have your passport. And here we are with no passport.
Really? So September? That's like 9 months?
Yeah. So it's going to. I mean, I was not expecting it to be in kind of the schedule that he.
Yeah, you didn't do a priority booking. It doesn't matter.
Right, and who knows? So I have actually sent him an email which may go unanswered because you know how. I mean, they're very, very busy people in a very small. In fact, sorry. So I turned up. I turned up half an hour early to the Czech consulate, and it was closed. I was like, oh my God, this is happening again. And
the same guy came out.
The same guy.
The railings. Hold on.
In his mind, partition has not happened. It's still the Czechoslovakian. Yeah. No, actually, it was a lady this time, and I my face was, pressed to the glass. Again, gnashing of teeth. Please let me in. I've had this appointment. Please let me in. I've had this appointment.
Good, almost.
And yeah, right. And she sort of shouted through the door. And she pointed at her watch. And I was like, oh. And I think I put my fingers up to indicate the time.
This is good.
And then she looked at her watch and she went,
oh, throw the shoulders up. And who knows?
No. As in, what are you doing here? You're half an hour early. Your appointment is not for half an hour, so come back then, you idiot.
Oh.
And I was like, okay. Wow. So they just were opening for that specific.
Early is on time and on time is late. That's what you were going on the assumption of, and they were like...
Exactly.
No.
Anyway, obviously I did have the appointment. So yeah, anyway, it's all done. It's just... the
waiting game.
The waiting game.
Yeah. Yes. So. Can you track it online? I could track my Irish one online.
Oh, no.
No.
I mean, it wasn't a foolproof system because it went past the date at which they said it would be issued. And it was like... They didn't update it. So it's like, it'll be issued 3 days in the past. And I was like,
Yeah.
I see a problem in the system.
It's not working.
Computer just said no. Yeah.
No, I know. I remember talking to Caitlin about the process. And I spoke to them on the phone at one point, right? Because it's a bit different because some of my family are getting German passports.
Yeah.
And that system is incredibly efficient. Not to have a stereotype home, but my God, they know what they're doing.
That's a hard word to say in a German accent. Trajectory. Trajectory.
They don't talk like that. They talk like this. Hello. Welcome to
Germany. Everyone on earth is now... I don't know, some sort of strange Alan Partridge bad impersonation of Alan Partridge.
I spoke to the embassy people on the phone, and I just remember talking to Caitlin after, being like, "Oh, I worked it out. They're Irish." They were like, I was worrying about like the paperwork and all of the documents and stuff. And I spoke to this guy and he said, you can send your passport if you want. You're fine. But like, of course. So it was a bit people running the show are Irish. The people stamping it are all Irish.
Yeah.
I get it now. I was thinking they were German because that's what my family was. It's like, no, they're Irish. It's
That's
cool.
not their philosophy, no.
No, it's a very different energy. I was like, that made me feel much more secure once I learned that.
driver's license, which was cool.
I sent a driver's license, yeah.
Which was nice because then we got to travel.
So you could still use the passport?
Yeah, I just
your
had...
passport off. Do you not have a... No,
No,
because
was
he's just been to Japan, as we're going to hear all about.
Yeah, no, it was all photocopies. So
you don't have to do the voice for Japan, by the way.
But before we get into that...
Hello, welcome to Japan. Hello. Arigato gozaimasu. Alas, a bit more difficult to understand than that.
Go on, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say the fact that they texted you and you would imagine things to be a lot more professional and whatnot. That you would just get
And now they've ghosted me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I sent that email. I've been ghosted by the Czech Republic.
Yeah, I guess you can't get a text message go to spam, so you will get a text message. You won't necessarily get an email. But
well, no, I have emailed him, but But
it just made me think of the time that I was using Instagram, and Instagram wanted me to put on 2-factor authentication.
Oh shit!
And I bypassed it because I didn't want to put it on, and then it just enabled it for me. So it was enabled without being synced, and I got locked out of Instagram, which is now owned by Meta.
Yes.
Right. And so there was nothing I could do to actually get into the account except email them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. Meta, one of the biggest corporations in the world, sends me a no-subject email.
Did a red dot appear on your forehead?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a no-subject email from what looks like the most dodgiest. It was like facebooksupport.com. It could be like completely made up. Asking me, or telling me that I had to take a picture of myself with my username on it, and like the identifying information, and send them a picture, like in the old school days where you'd have to prove your existence online. And then it took about 3 months for them to actually respond to me. And basically, as I was waiting, I started becoming a Facebook lurker, which I hate, because I couldn't use Instagram. But every other day, I would email the person and be like, "How's it going?"
Did this person have a name?
I don't even
Just
remember.
No subject.
Yeah, it was just like no subject. How's it going? How's your life? My life's pretty bad.
Without oh god, it's
It's such a funny I saved one of the emails Kaylin sent because it's like you're about halfway into the so you're getting kind of like comfortable with them being
are you a to whom it may concern kind of girl? Are you a dear?
This is just a hello at this point.
Hello. Okay.
No, a hello and a thanks. Yeah. But my favourite line is, "I'd love to log in again."
I'd love to log in again. It's some sort of like 80s ballad. Brilliant. Are you now back on?
I'm now back
the
on.
gram.
She's back in. She's logging in and loving it.
Just imagine it would be
logging in and loving it. Hashtag,
yeah. And loving it. Hashtag.
Yeah.
But that's it. Yeah, that's why I shared that, just because it's like they texted you. Well, all right, they emailed me no subject.
No, every day I'm like, please text me the consulate.
I'm desperate to hear. Are you ready to tell us stories about the Japlan? Are you ready? Do you want to do it? You don't have to, but it would be very interesting. I've got lots of questions.
You ask and I'll answer.
How long were you there for?
I was in Japan for 9 weeks.
9 weeks.
Wow. And why?
So, there are quite a few reasons, but primarily because I wanted, and have always wanted to learn as much Japanese as possible in Japan.
Yeah.
So I was there to attend a language school every day and live with a host family. But I also, because Japan is beautiful and different, I wanted to explore it. But yeah, so that's a truncated version.
And which part did you visit, or where were you based? I'm sure you travelled around a bit.
I was based in Kyoto.
Okay.
So Kyoto,
Eastern capital, or is that Tokyo?
So Kyoto's in the west.
Yeah,
right.
So Tokyo's the eastern capital.
Maybe I'm thinking of Edo. I can't remember. We watched the video the other day.
Yeah,
That's why.
I can never remember as well. But so Kyoto is the ancient capital, one of the ancient capitals of Japan.
Yeah.
And you're actually not allowed to build skyscrapers there because it's World Heritage and it's very traditional, etc. So it's
the whole city. Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
So I mean, I didn't see any, but it's very different to Tokyo. So Tokyo is, as I'm sure many people know, gargantuan.
Yeah.
Huge. You go up to one of either the Tokyo Tower or the Sky Tree.
Yeah.
Do you know what Tokyo Tower is in Japanese?
No.
Tokyo Tower. And the Sky Tree is?
Sky Tree.
Sky Tree.
I heard orange juice is orange juice.
Orange juice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many.
Hi.
So many Western concepts will generally have English or derived from Dutch because it's very similar to English. It sounds English words. A lot of that.
Dutch studies.
Dutch.
Right? There's a whole. We were watching the whole thing. You know, the history about Dejima. Japan had an isolationist policy for I think it's over 100 years.
I think it was a lot. Yeah.
Maybe longer. Maybe it's a few hundred years. But they had one port called Dejima where they traded with one nation who were the Dutch. That was it.
That's why a lot of words they look English, but actually they're from Dutch because they got them from that period.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I think the word glass in Japanese, glasu, is actually from glas, which is from the Dutch word for glass. But because Dutch and English are sisters.
Obviously, there's a lot of...
Yeah. So people go, oh, it's English. And actually, that origin is Dutch.
Oh, how interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Dutch. So, yes. So Kyoto is this beautiful traditional with temple. I was describing Tokyo. Tokyo, when you go up to one of these, either Tawa or Skyutri, you see this... It just never ends. It just because if you go up into the London Eye, you can sort of see the bowl that London sits in, and you can sort of see the boundaries. In Tokyo, you sort of can't.
It just doesn't stop.
No, it very quickly. I was only there for 4 days, so I obviously had the sort of rose-tinted tourist glasses on.
Yeah,
but it very quickly became one of my top capital cities.
Interesting.
It's so huge, and yet. To what I'm used to, sparklingly clean, incredibly well functioning.
Right.
One of the first pictures I took was of the floor of the Tokyo Metro.
Right.
Because it looks like you could eat off it. And if I had to choose a metro floor from which to eat, it would be the Tokyo Metro.
Have you been to Singapore?
I have, but I was very, very young.
Right. I had a similar
similar
experience. Yeah. It was astonishingly clean. I couldn't believe that it could function and be that clean and yet busy.
So this is what it seems to, because they must be very diligent.
That's what I was going to say.
Ah, right. Sorry, go on.
No, in New York, when I first came to the UK, I was like, plush?
Yeah.
You can't have plush seats.
Yeah, that's right.
Really?
The fact that there was fabric on the seats blew her mind.
So London was your Tokyo? Yeah. So here is... there it is.
Oh, it is so clean.
Oh, sparkling.
So it's shiny, sparkling, not a single blemish or a single item of litter or anything nefarious.
Wasn't it the thing with the Olympics and whatnot? Everyone stayed to clean up.
I think that was the World Cup, wasn't it?
The World Cup.
That was the World Cup, yeah.
So I found Tokyo to be like that. In fact, all the cities I visited. And you are met by tradition. What I loved about Japan was the fact that they're like a technologically advanced society.
Yeah.
On one foot, but their other foot is securely, what would you call it, sort of fastened into their own tradition. Maybe you would get, obviously I didn't grow up in Japan, I'm not Japanese, this is from a Western perspective of 9 weeks in Japan.
Right.
But this is my perspective. Maybe if you spoke to, an elder, a grandmother or grandfather, they would say the youth of today is losing all the tradition.
I'm
like
sure,
we all do.
Yeah, of course they would, yeah.
But to my mind, at least, when I was there, it seemed
very strong.
That there was a strength of tradition there, mixed with the technological advancement and the extraordinary cleanliness and functionality of the place.
Sounds pretty good.
It's obviously the food is, if you like Japanese food, it's heaven. So Tokyo is this huge, sprawling city with skyscrapers, but with parks and temples, Buddhist and Shinto, so Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines. Cool. And so if you've ever seen one of the most iconic pictures of Japan is a red curved gate which is rising from the sea.
Yes. Oh, you saw that.
Yeah, so that is Miyajima or Itsukushima. It's got sort of two names. It's an island outside of Hiroshima. So I visited Hiroshima. Mm-hmm. And the red gate, it's actually not red. It's a specific sort of bright reddy orange that is used to paint Shinto.
Oh.
A lot of Shinto gates and I think actually some Buddhist around some Buddhist temples as well.
There must be some bleed between the two, inevitably.
So this is what's fascinating, is that Shinto is a native Japanese.
Yeah.
I sort of hesitate to call it religion.
It's animist beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Spirits of the forefathers and ancestors, and also nymphs and stuff like that.
Objects, though, as well?
Right. So it revolves around I think the concept of, so the Japanese word kami means we would spell it Kami. Kami is sometimes translated as God or spirit, mostly as God, but it's nothing like God in the Abrahamic sense.
Right.
The Shinto kami, and by the way, there's no plural in Japanese, so gods,
What,
God
all
or
things
gods,
are singular and plural the whole time.
words don't have they don't inflect for plurality.
How interesting.
So there are suffixes that you can use that mean group of,
Right.
but there's no plurality like in English. We would have tables, plant, plants.
Basically plants.
That doesn't
most
exist.
Things.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, table in Japanese is teburu because it's a Western concept.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So Shinto revolves around the fact that a sort of whether it's sentient or not, a sort of divine energy of nature inhabits.
Like a Gaia type, but is it?
But there are thousands and thousands, millions of them, and as Caitlin said, they can inhabit maybe stones.
Right.
But your ancestors can become kami. So this is as far as I've I didn't.
And are they anthropomorphized, or are they objects that or forces in nature? But because obviously the Greeks have like a similar type of thing, but then they put like a face and a backstory to those same ideas.
As
like,
far as I've seen,
yeah.
And if you've ever seen Spirited Away,
Love it.
The Ghibli in Japanese, it's Ghibli, although it's from an Italian word. The spirit world and the spirits are personified, anthropomorphized, whatever kind of word you want to use.
Yeah.
They have sort of personalities and speak and all that sort of thing.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know enough about it to make to.
It would make more sense because then you can. Then they have an origin story and they have tales around the mythology.
Yeah.
If it's just a stone, there's only so much a stone can be good in a story.
So a kami inhabits the stone.
Right.
So it starts
Exactly.
moving, right?
So the stone itself is.
To people who aren't in this room, there is a wonderful, sleek black cat enjoying more than I want to enjoy life as much as she is right now inside a cardboard box.
Hey Alex, you'll get a kick out of this. Cats have the little thing in the ear.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's called?
The little pocket. No.
Henry's pocket.
What? Oh, it is a pocket. It's called a pocket.
It's called Henry's
And
pocket.
who was Henry?
I don't know.
Is
That's
he
as far as my knowledge
is he the
goes.
kami god that inhabits the ears of
Are
cats?
you inhabited by a kami god?
Are you?
Is that what's
Oh my
going
god!
on?
And sometimes
I can believe that.
Yeah.
You know how historically they say cats are the guardians of the underworld.
Yeah.
There are times where this cat either runs up and stares to look at us at 3 a.m. as if she's protecting us, but she'll also just very much be alert and looking at nothing, and you're like, oh, those are the ghosts.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Staring into the middle distance.
Yeah.
That's why we love it. So
That's
yeah.
right.
So anyway, so that's and then the Buddhist religion I think came from China. But what's amazing is that they have coexisted, and you'll have a Buddhist temple and a Shinto shrine, which to the uninitiated will just look like the same complex.
Right.
So, but they
One didn't try and erase the other.
to my knowledge, no.
Right. That's good.
No, it's so lovely. It's really lovely, and it seems that religion in Japan, people sort of pick and choose the things that matter. I think there is. I can't remember which one it is specifically, but there's something like weddings are traditionally one of them, and funerals are traditionally the other. So it's all a bit of a mixture.
And in the house that you stayed in, did they have a shrine to their ancestors? Was that a thing for them?
So I'll just explain briefly what. So you said house that I stayed in. So while I was studying, I stayed with a host family.
Right.
What were they called?
So I won't give a second name just because.
Of course.
But my host mother was called Junko-san, and my host father was called Kinichi-san. Now I've said the word san.
Just as an honorific, isn't it?
It's an honorific
to show respect.
It's to show respect, but you can attach it to either your second name or your first name. So it's a little bit like saying Mr. Rob or Miss Caitlin, which is I love it. It's something. But there are obviously different words that you can that you can affix to give different sort of depending on the status, levels of
like usted and tu, but even further. How many levels are there to this game?
Right.
Well,
there's no plurals either, right?
there are no. So usted and tu are personal pronouns in Spanish, but in Japanese the suffixes are just literally like Mr. and whatever. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh god! In terms of the actual suffixes, you've got sama, which is very polite, san, which is quite polite, and then kun or chan, which is quite friendly. But it also depends on whether it's a boy or a girl as well.
Do you ever just say someone's name without any of the suffixes? Pretty rare, huh?
I think that's pretty. I don't.
That's so interesting.
That never happened with me because obviously I was talking to teachers and they were talking to me, and we were. Yeah.
So you have to maintain that. Yes, I get that. Yeah.
But actually, so Junko-san, my quote unquote host mother, when she sort of
just call her mum.
Well, no. She actually wanted me to call her grandma.
Oh.
And him grandpa. But I said, you are far too young. I'm a 37-year-old man. You're like 60.
Yeah.
You're younger than my parents. Like I can't. So I sort of I got the convention of names, which is great. But my name, Alex, Arekusu, or Arekusanda, but that was like it's too much. So Arekusu, she found a little bit difficult to pronounce, and I was there was another chap who was staying in another one of their rooms, whom she called TJ, and I thought, well, and he was from America. They called him TJ, and I said, well, my middle name's John. I could be AJ. So I said, AJ, and she loved it. That was it. So now she just calls me AJ. She doesn't. She puts san or kun. She just says AJ.
Right.
But maybe that's because I'm not Japanese.
And that's a unique label, isn't it? So it like that. What's the word? It's not like it's someone else that you could be talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Whereas like those modifiers on the end, the levels, will be like if two people have the same name, the modifier might tell you which one you're talking about.
I suppose it could, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But obviously AJ is obviously not a Japanese name, so it's pretty easy to... So,
yeah.
So that was what... And she, Junko-san, is a chef in a local restaurant.
Oh my God, you're killing me.
So when you stay in a host family, you can... So I chose breakfast and dinner, and this is why...
You are kidding.
This is why my body has changed somewhat. Since
it's gotten better.
No,
How much fish and rice
nothing.
can one man eat? Did you test the limits?
There were meats.
I could have done a whole 9 weeks again.
Oh.
The food, her cooking was just.
I mean, she's
incredible.
a chef. Japanese food is already so nice,
Right?
But then to be living with a chef,
Yeah, and I did a couple of shifts in the restaurant, which was
that sounds fun.
utterly terrifying.
Now, were standards ridiculously high?
In terms of,
As in, like, have you seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi? It's like that poor... It's a documentary about this sushi chef who runs this incredibly elite sushi restaurant in like a Japanese metro station.
I see.
And his son, his eldest son, so desperately wants to be in charge of lots of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he's got him on the egg sushi, right? The one that like no one particularly likes. It's a bit of omelette.
I
on
love that.
top of-
The tamago. Yeah,
it's a nigiri, I think, right? They put it on top, right? It's nice, but it's not anyone's favourite.
No, well, it's not the high end sort of.
No, exactly, because you're dealing with such nice fish and all of and it's none of that. His poor son has been doing this omelette for decades, and it's like, once you perfect the omelette, son, you can go on to other stuff in the kitchen. He never has.
So that sort of actually is a nice segue into something else that I noticed and realised and had heard about Japan. So when you go to restaurants, so in the UK you'll have a restaurant which will serve many, many different types of dishes.
Right.
Now there are of course restaurants like that in Japan, but you can find restaurants which will serve only one thing. So it'll be a ramen restaurant or a sushi restaurant or a tempura restaurant.
Right.
Because that's the oh yes. Yeah.
Which is a word that comes from Spanish, is it, or Portuguese?
They think it's Portuguese.
Yes, okay. Anyway, sidebar, carry on.
So they'll do one thing better than anyone else on Earth. And so that poor son now is probably the best tamago. Is it tamago yaki, that one?
I think it's tamago. That rings a
tamago
bell.
just means egg in Japanese.
Yeah. And it was the nigiri one where it's like on a block of rice.
On a block of rice.
And wrapped with a little bit of seaweed.
Of nori. Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. That was his whole life.
So Junko-san did make sushi, but there were many other things as well she made. But it was... So have you ever tried... Tamago. Have you ever tried natto? Natto.
No, this rings a bell.
So fermented soybeans.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah. It's quite an acquired taste. So
I love all fermented food, apart from the rotting fish. The Norwegian.
Yes, I haven't tried that.
I can't hack that shit. But
so do you like natto?
I do. Yeah.
So me too.
But it's a bit.
tried it?
I don't know.
So it very
didn't
often
have it
comes
with
in a
you.
little polystyrene box.
Because it's a bit
Environmentalism in Japan in a minute, but polystyrene box,
Oh, really?
and it's about I don't know the size of your iPhone but square, a bit smaller, and you open it and there's a little sort of cellophane cover which covers these dark small beans, and they're soybeans but they've been fermented.
Oh, interesting.
And-
I've not had this.
Okay, and what you're supposed to do is whip them up with your chopsticks,
Yeah.
and they become quite foamy
Yes.
and stringy.
Okay.
And you can just eat them like that, but very often they come with a little packet of mustard or some soy or both, and you put both of those on, whip them up, and then you mix them with rice.
Yes.
And I would have that quite a lot, and they were in fact so astonished that I enjoyed it and would eat it on a regular basis when given to me.
Yeah.
That I think I texted Junko-san the other day and said, "Oh, I miss Kyoto," and she said, "AJ is Japanese. He likes natto." Because it's so rare that a non-Japanese person
Right.
would like natto, because it's such a strange concept to a
So it's like Marmite.
Right.
Yeah.
Or stinky
Yeah, right.
cheese in France.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That,
All of
that
those.
is
The ones.
exactly as I described it, because it does smell quite funky.
Yes.
So I likened it to stinky cheese, and then you taste it and it's nice.
Yeah.
But still some people don't like it, and that's fair enough.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of
it
course.
was-
It's very much like Marmite, actually. That's probably... Would you say that's the most divisive British?
yeah, it probably is. Yeah,
Maybe
probably.
jelly deals. No,
Yeah, but
more
but
people don't
Marmite is
like-
more ubiquitous.
Marmite's more
yeah.
ubiquitous. Yeah.
Yeah, and accessible. So so the food was extraordinary.
Now, I've heard this... I've not heard this... I don't really fully grasp it, so I've got a bit of a question for you.
Yeah.
I've heard that there's this thing in Japan called Western cuisine, which is not actually... So, for example, katsu curry is Western cuisine in Japanese terms, even though obviously it's Japanese.
Well, yeah. So there is actually. It's going to be.
I think I'm partly right on this
No.
one.
You are absolutely, because there's a word. Let me.
Yeah, there's a special word for it, yeah. But and because obviously curry doesn't originate in Japan, it came from
Right, I mean-
obviously India, but
Yeah.
it was brought in by Westerners.
Yosoku. So washoku. So shoku is sort of like food or whatever. Washoku. So often things that have wa at the beginning of it mean things to do with Japan.
Right.
So for example, Japanese sweets are called wagashi. Wagashi, and then washoku is Japanese food. Western or non-Japanese food is called yoshoku. So we've got washoku and yoshoku.
Ah, right.
And by the way, in Japanese there is pitch accent, which I'm very bad at, so my pronunciation is nowhere near perfect. But so yes, there is the concept of Western dishes. But then we might kind of group things in and go, oh, East Asian cuisine.
Right. Which is the broadest catch-all
Exactly.
of
Yeah,
all.
exactly. Yeah.
A question
Good point.
though on so for instance, if you get sushi in New York City
Yeah.
versus London,
Yeah.
it's actually very different.
It's pretty different.
So like spicy tuna, for instance, is often like kind of minced in the States.
Yeah.
Yes.
With a spicy
Yeah.
mayo, whereas in London you often tend to get like a spicy powder on it.
Yes.
So the powder, I wonder, is it might be shichimi, which
Yes,
is a
yes.
Which
yeah.
we have, because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stuff is so
Me too.
good.
It's lovely. It's yeah.
You use
So
it all
what
the
kind of
time.
sushi
It's so delicious.
Would you get?
Yeah.
What's the sushi like?
Was it
actually?
completely different?
No, it wasn't.
Really?
No, not at all. And I was pleasantly surprised, because I thought,
Yeah.
okay, I can get good sushi in London.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe a Japanese person would be in
I'm
complete
sure.
disagreement with me
I'm
on this,
sure.
and I would respect that. But the food was incredible. So what was different is that it was much less costly there.
Right.
But that might be because the yen is very weak at the moment. Go to Japan now, because the yen is weak.
So getting there's expensive, but
yeah.
while you're living there, it's not too bad.
Not
That's
too bad.
interesting.
Not too bad as long
If
as
only
you
we had time on our trip to...
pop over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
So yeah, but the
Another
katsu curry and but so interestingly enough, breakfasts, a very traditional Japanese breakfast, very often will have a grilled fish, rice, natto, maybe a raw egg, etc.
Etc. That's
Yeah.
such a mental break.
So sorry, yeah, I mean, I got used to it. And I
of
loved
course.
it.
Yeah.
No, but it is to us because we like sweet breakfasts
Yeah.
or
The Italians take that way too far, don't they?
Pistachio
I can't have
cream.
breakfast in Italy.
I mean, I probably could because
Well, you might like pastry more than me.
I adore it.
I like savoury pastry a lot.
We had
Like it's a
savoury
weakness.
breakfast today, and we were like, I prefer savoury. Like we had a bacon sandwich.
And
Yeah.
Italian food might be my favourite. It's definitely up there, but the breakfast I can't hack it.
So my favourite breakfast is a pain au chocolat with coffee, and then I debauch it by taking the roof off and putting apricot jam on the.
Scandalous.
So whenever I've told my French friends, like, putain, qu'est-ce que tu fais là?
Yeah.
Ridicule. You know, they want nature. But yeah, sometimes she would say, English breakfast. Oh, English breakfast? What? I was,
Really? Eggs and
pudding
bacon?
No, what she called English breakfast. And I don't know whether this is something that maybe in Japanese culture isn't.
Or
I don't
it's
think,
just
maybe
her.
it was just her.
Right.
It was a plate of sandwiches.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What,
which is
like
more
ham and cheese kind of shit?
Exactly, ham and cheese. And another sandwich
On
that
white
they have
bread.
on white bread.
Yeah.
Another sandwich which they have, which I adore. So there is have you ever heard of the concept of kombini?
No.
So the word kombini comes from the English word convenience, and it just means a convenience store, which is like a Tesco Metro or whatever.
Right.
But the kombini, there are three main ones. You can book festival tickets, you can get out money, you can you can do a huge amount of things in a konbini, but of course, and you can buy underwear in a konbini, stationery and food. And the food in a konbini is cheap and incredibly delicious.
Right.
And
even though it's just like ubiquitous and immediately available. Because obviously in the West we would, I think of like something like Costco or Kmart or, something where it's like you don't expect the quality to be high, but you expect it to be readily available. And there you go. You've got it immediately.
So the quality is incredibly high. And I have had this discussion with a Japanese friend of mine, and she loves konbini food. So it's not just me as a stupid Westerner who's going, oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm back.
The voice is back.
I travelled with the gentleman from the Slovak consulate. As a way to say thank you for giving me my document. So they have sandwiches. There's the konbini sandwiches, and they're sandwichi. So that's obviously yosoku. That's the Western food, right?
Right.
The best egg sandwiches you'll ever have in your life.
Caitlin.
Egg and mayonnaise, and fruit and cream sandwiches.
Sorry?
Whoa.
Right. So the bread is very much...
Like a sponge?
It's incredibly light and a little bit sweet.
Okay.
So between two slices of that is a whipped cream and fresh fruit.
That sounds good.
It's incredibly delicious.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Because I was on my holidays and I was like, I'm just going to eat what I want, which is why I've gone through such a shift in body composition in the last.
By the way, you are overselling that. You look just
You
the
look
same.
amazing.
as you did.
That'll be the metal girdle I bought in the airport. But thank you. What was I saying about the sandwiches? Oh yeah, so sometimes for lunch I'd be very naughty and just have one of those and a fruit cream sando. And so the word in Japanese for delicious, which they use all the time, is oishii.
Oishii. We knew that. Actually.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
So you can, and there's a little particle at the end of things which is ne, which means sort of isn't it? Oishii ne, which is so if you're both eating something, one of you could say oishii ne, which is isn't it delicious? You say, hey, oishii desu, oishii.
How conversational are you now in Japanese?
I'm not good.
Is it really hard? Because you're really good at languages.
Well,
from an objective point of view, it's definitely true. Because how many do you speak?
Well, it depends what you mean by speak. But I would say that I would say I'm fluent in French and Spanish.
Yes, and I've spoke about other languages with you, and you're very good.
I can get by in others.
Yes, but your innate understanding of language is like you're a natural linguist for sure. And you don't have to bat away the compliment. I'm giving it to you, and you're taking it. But
I accept your compliment, and I thank you so much.
But obviously, this is a completely different structure.
So that's you've hit the nail on the head. So the Japanese is not necessarily, by an objective point of view, to speak. Reading and writing is a different thing. Difficult. It's just the structure is so wildly different from what we're used to that it's difficult to us. Now, if you are Korean, Japanese is probably the easiest foreign language to learn and vice versa.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're not necessarily genetically related languages, but I think because of a lot of mutual contact, the structures are quite similar now. That's one way of putting it. Yeah. But I find it difficult. It is not an easy language. However, to be understood in Japanese is not too bad from a pronunciation point of view, because you very often, mostly have consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel.
Okay, right. That's kind of easy to mimic, rather. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not
those sounds are repeatable.
Yeah, and they only have 5 vowels.
Right.
Ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, a, i, u, e, o. So like A, I, O, U, right?
Right.
But then the order of them is ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, a, i, u, e, o. That's
it for vowel sounds.
Yeah. A, I, u, e, o. They do have some diphthongs, but but basically it's just the 2 vowels combined.
Right.
And then the consonants are pretty. I say easy. Obviously, it's difficult to sound like a native. Very, very difficult.
Well, yeah, of course.
But easy to be understood.
Yeah, that's the game. That's the game.
Exactly.
Really.
But the only real clincher, the really difficult consonant is the L/R, so they don't have either an L or an R, but it's combined into a da, di, do, de, do sort of sound, which is sort of like an Italian or a Spanish flapped R, but sometimes depending on the region, it can sound like more like an L, but that's why native Japanese.
L, like a
no, it's no light.
Okay.
But it's more like a la, but it's never l.
Right.
But that's why traditionally Japanese native speakers find the difference between L and R. I mean, forgetting for the fact that there's even a light and a dark L, just an L and an R, very, very difficult.
Because in their language it's the same, it's one and the same.
It's one and the same.
Yeah. So of course that's going to then sound different if you translate it into something else. And then this isn't even getting into the kanji and they've got 3 different systems of writing and all of that stuff. But
so, I mean, 4 if you count Romaji, which is the Roman way of, which is Roman letters. But that aside, because we can read that one, they have, as you say, 3 different writing systems.
Yeah.
The most difficult is kanji, which is Chinese characters, and that's that kanji really that's how they would describe them, Chinese characters.
Yeah.
Which are the very elaborate, most of them are very elaborate, characters which mean one thing.
They're like more complex. It's not an alphabet, is it?
It's not an alphabet. It's what are they?
What's
sort
the
of
word for it? Yeah,
logographic.
It's kind of like hieroglyphs. An image tells a lot of stories, not just a sound or a word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I say mean one thing. They may have a sort of a concept which can have many meanings. Yeah. But that is so they've got that system, and there are thousands upon thousands of characters to learn. Then they've got 2 syllabaries. Or syllabaries. So, in English, we use an alphabet. We use a symbol can either represent a consonant or a vowel. So the letter B is B, it's a consonant. The letter A is A, it's a vowel. Put them together and you get ba. In the Japanese syllabaries, the consonant and the vowel is connected. You can't separate it. So you will have a symbol which represents ka, another one which represents ki, and then another which is ku, and another which is ke, and another which is ko. So because there are 5 vowels, you have the 5 vowels attached to one.
Does it work the other way as well, like ak or ik?
No,
it's always consonant vowel.
You can have the vowels by themselves. Mm-hmm. So there are 5 symbols, a, I, u, e, o, and then there's kaki, ku, ke, ko, sashi, su, se, so. Sorry, sashi, su, se, so. Hai. Kaki, ku, ko, sashi, se, so, tachi, tsu, te, to. So they're all connected. Now, both syllabaries represent exactly the same syllables, but one, hiragana, is... one syllabary is used for native Japanese words, and katakana, the other one, is used for foreign words, or sometimes to emphasize, or sometimes for plants and the names of botanical things and biological things. So all of our names would be written in katakana, which is the syllabary that is used for foreign words.
Right.
The way to think about katakana, I think this was not my original idea, but I think it was brilliant. That seems to suggest that I only think my ideas are brilliant. That's not. It's not the case at all. Is that he described katakana as like italics. So think about sometimes if you have texts in English and a foreign word might be written in italics.
Right. Yeah.
To sort of demonstrate, by the way, this is not a misspelling, this is a foreign word.
Right.
So katakana is essentially that. It's just that italics are the same alphabet, just in a different font, whereas in Japanese it's an entirely different writing system. However, we have capital letters, which sometimes aren't anything like...
Sometimes look very different.
Capital E and lowercase e.
And weird scripts. Sometimes I can't read things in certain English scripts.
Absolutely.
Q tends to sometimes be the weirdest.
Q's a bit weird.
Sometimes it looks like a 2.
Yes, it does, exactly. But in Japanese, in a standard sentence, you can very, very... there's a very high chance that you might have all 3 of the writing systems. You can't really interchange them. Wow. There are rules as to when to use which. So a good sentence is my name, or I am English.
Okay.
I am English, which is if you were to say it formally and in sort of long form, would be watashi wa igirisu-jin desu. Watashi wa igirisu-jin desu. So watashi is one of the ways in which you can say I, and that's written using Chinese symbols.
Yeah.
But it's pronounced watashi. Mm-hmm. However, you could, if someone didn't know how it's pronounced, you could write hiragana on top of that symbol using watashi to demonstrate how it was pronounced.
So like transliterate it almost.
Yes, yeah, it's like the IPA, but
right.
They use that which is the International Phonetic Alphabet, but they have hiragana for that. So watashi, and then wa is a phonetic symbol, which is a grammatical concept, which means the thing I've just spoken about is the topic of the sentence. Igirisu, which comes means England, and I know it's not very. They use England to mean the United Kingdom, but
okay. Well,
I didn't choose that.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But you can say there are other words, but that's the most common. But igirisu is uses katakana because it's a foreign word. Then the word jin, which means person, uses another symbol which means person, and then des is a grammatical thing, so it uses hiragana again. So it's totally wild. It's wild compared with
that simple sentence uses all those different systems.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we have any equivalent in English that would be like that? I don't feel like we do.
Capital letters, I suppose, but
it doesn't seem as wild though.
People, like the only thing I can think of is that buffalo.
Oh yeah,
like,
which I don't fully.
It's not the same thing, but like.
I mean, that's I suppose homophones.
Yeah.
Meaning, so words that sound the same but mean slightly different things.
Yeah.
One's a verb, one's a noun, one's a name of a place, one's a
but it's not. So it's not SVO then, subject, verb, object.
No,
in general.
It is. Well, so if you want to say, I like chocolate, which is
in my head. I was thinking ice cream, but yeah, cool.
Let's do ice.
I went for like as well.
There we go.
I went for I.
So, there we go. Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, let's do. So chocolate is chocoreto, and ice cream is aisokrim.
Okay,
so aisokrimu. So I like ice cream. Would
watashi?
So yes, although informally you wouldn't need to say that. Good. So if you were to do it formally, watashi wa aisukrimu ga suki desu.
Okay, so I ice cream like.
So actually it means, as for me, ice cream is desirable.
I love literal translations.
Even more literal. For me, speaking of, ice cream, subject of this sentence, desirable is,
Wow.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
In Russian, the most common way to say what your name is, right? My name is Меня зовут.
Yes.
Robert, right? But directly translated, it means they call me. It's such a different way of.
Same in Hebrew.
Is it?
Call imli. And in the Romance languages, it's I call myself. Je m'appelle.
Right.
Me
Yes.
llamo. So there name nomenclature and that kind of stating it is very different. I mean, you can say in Japanese, you could just say. Igirisu-jin desu. You could just say is English. So this is what's interesting about personal pronouns in Japanese is you don't, especially when you should avoid them if you can.
Why? Because they're complicated.
Because
they change the other words around them, do they?
Not necessarily. No, they don't. Not that. It's just that it's not necessary. So, for example, if you're speaking, so if I say igirisu-jin desu, that just means is English. Because I'm not asking a question, it's probably assumed that I'm talking about myself. If I say, igirisu-jin desu ka? Now that ka means what I've just said is a question. Now, I'm obviously not asking myself if I'm English, so it's assumed that if I say English English person, then I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, to say the word you in Japanese can be quite rude. So if you do have to specify the person, generally what you say is the person's name. So I would say, what Caitlin would be Caitlin-san. So, Ms. Caitlin, English person? Or,
Mr.
You would be like, I know.
Put me above Sun. I want the high level one.
Sama.
Yes!
But I'm thinking, would you want Roberto Dobbu-sama? Dobbu-sama.
Okay.
Dobbu-sama.
Oh, that's good.
イギリス人ですか? so like honored guest. On,
I want to be an
Nah.
Caitlin's
Caitlin-san.
Caitlin's-san. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a really fascinating sort of concept. It's so different from what we're used to. But in terms of the subject, object, verb.
Yeah. Okay. Which we can do in English, but it ends up sounding a bit Yoderish. Yes.
I, you desire. Yeah. It's understood, but but that's the general thing. But it's, I mean, goodness, I'm only at the beginning of my Japanese journey.
Your Japanese journey.
Oh my god, my Japan.
Do you have a 5-year Japlan?
35-year Japan. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's
it's honestly, for I think as long as I've known you, you've had the Japlan. So this is something that has been, or maybe not quite that long, but to
Maybe
make
I
us
was
sound
just-
very old
maybe I was
suddenly.
just concealing it.
But it's been a thing that's been bubbling away for quite some time.
Yeah.
And then to actually follow through with it and it to happen is sort of, you may as well die now. It's done.
That's it. Oh god, are we going to now hear a loud noise and that's it? My voice will stop. I've come here to go. Obviously, I feel very lucky to be able to have done it. It takes a lot of organisation. I would urge anyone to go to Japan. It is a beautiful place, in my view. The scenery is extraordinary. The travel is very easy. Since I think the Olympics, they have everything. If your Japanese ain't so hot, they've got all the announcements and the signs in English, which is of course really lucky. And the food is incredible. And the sights are just, so I was lucky enough to go in at the end of March, which is the sakura season, which is the cherry blossoms.
Oh my god.
That's so lovely.
So
Wow. So to see that in real life.
yeah, walking around in clouds of pink and white.
Yeah.
And what is really lovely, and this is something that I respected so much about, I think, the culture that I saw, is that when I was a tourist in Japan, I didn't feel, the Japanese are also tourists in their own country. They adore the sakura. They adore going to visit temples. They love traveling, around. So I didn't feel like I was sort of a tourist that they might be going, oh God, I've seen this 1,000 times. Why is he interested in that? Because they were interested in it too. It is, the culture is profound and so different. And someone has described it a little bit like being in a different dimension, that everything is the same but slightly different. I mean, this is, I suppose I would say, a divide between Asia and the Occident and the Orient, that there are doors but they might slide instead of open, although you've just put a sliding door in your...
Yes, I know.
Although, I think because things are globalized now, obviously everything is much more blending into one another and sharing, but they don't have cutlery, they have chopsticks, and that's a very surface level thing.
No, but I mean, it's kind of like it explodes from the tiny to the massive, doesn't it? And
exactly.
it's all on a scale. And is the thing about eating true, that it's all like sat on the floor and stuff? And
No, we ate at a table.
It's all at a table, is it?
When you go to sort of maybe a posh restaurant, then you would go and sit.
So the posh is actually the sitting on the floor.
Yeah, or the traditional, which are often
yeah.
one and the same, because the traditional are probably quite expensive.
Were the beds though? Like with the mattress?
So that you're talking about the tatami mat. So most Japanese, from what I understand, most Japanese
Western
dwellings, have a Japanese room, a washitsu.
What?
So most of the rooms will look very much like the room we're sitting in now, a Western room.
Sure.
A kitchen and a bathroom and and then they'll have a Japanese style room, which has the sliding doors and the tatami mats. And the tatami mats are set in a sort of Tetris-like arrangement on the floor to fit the size of the room, and they're thick, material-covered, light green, very beautifully made mats, oblong. And you can sleep on those with a blanket over you. Now, I find them very hard.
Yeah,
but
that sounds...
my host father slept on a tatami mat, but my host mother slept on a Western bed.
Right.
Luckily, I had a Western bed.
Right.
How interesting! And it's so the Japanese room is just for sleeping, or is
No.
it,
You could have tea ceremony in there.
also
You could, you can
do all
entertain
the
in there.
Japanese stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
How
Yeah.
interesting that they have a special room. I mean,
Isn't it
we
lovely?
don't have any equivalent here, do we? What would it be?
The
here?
stocks in the local village.
Yeah, exactly.
To remind us of where we've come from. And it's so lovely because it's a space that is an unapologetic acknowledgement of where you are and what the culture is. It's lovely. I loved it. I thought it was. I sort of didn't want to step in it. I knew there's a very strict regime of not wearing shoes inside as well.
Yeah.
Very strict, which is lovely because you do not wear your outside shoes indoors.
It makes perfect sense. I've always had that
Me too.
policy in my houses.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah,
It makes perfect
don't wear absolutely. But you wear slippers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a.
I can tell you're made up, man. I mean, it's like it's everything you wanted and more, which is
indeed.
such a great thing.
Do you know about the public baths in Japan?
Caitlin, do you?
Public
No,
baths?
I don't think so.
So there's
Informed.
what's called the onsen, which are natural springs, but in cities where there aren't natural springs, maybe they've got the
I've heard this word. I know onsen because there's a type of egg that I want to try called an onsen egg, which is like slowly cooked over 20 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I think maybe you're talking about the black eggs of
No,
Hakone.
not the no. What's that called? The
Century
balut.
egg?
I don't know, but I tried one. It tasted like egg.
That's one way of putting
Maybe
it.
this
No,
is
just
true,
tasted of egg. There's no difference at all.
Oh,
it was only the shell was black from volcanic.
Oh right, no, I'm thinking of the fermented.
Oh no. Oh, the century. You're talking about the century egg.
Yes, which I think is called the balut.
No, balut is the one that usually has the
The dead, the
birds.
fetus.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
There's
no.
that as
But
well.
century egg is the one that's been steeped for a long time.
That's yes. The sort of
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so onsen.
So the onsen are public baths from natural springs, and then the sendo are public baths not necessarily from natural springs. But anyway, they're all public baths, and they're divided by sex, and you are not allowed to wear clothes in them, as in you're not allowed to wear swimwear.
So it's Scandi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Central European. Yes. What's interesting is that when you go in to the bath, you'll have your robe on, and you'll leave that at the door. You go in naked, and around the edge of the baths, or however they've set it up in that particular one, but generally around the edge, are open. So they're not really cubicles, but they're sort of divide
Stalls, maybe.
yeah, of a shower and lots of shampoo and etc. and soap and a stool, and they're just next to each other. So the guys will all sit down, the girls will all sit down in their bit, and you wash yourself thoroughly. My God, you're clean, and it's amazing because when everyone gets into these bars, completely naked, you think, well, this is clean.
Right.
And very often in the
Everyone's
natural
had
springs,
the
it's
full
running
wash.
water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my God, you scrub, and like 10 minutes of everything: soap, shampoo, conditioner, every orifice, and it's all amazing. You're incredibly clean, and then you get into the bars and you enjoy yourself.
That sounds good.
And it's so. What was nice traveling alone is that I never really had to witness going in with a friend.
Yeah,
I feel that,
right.
and I thought maybe so. My one of my private teachers, I asked her about this. I said, "Are you confident in going?" And she said, "Actually, with friends, it's not so. I'm not. I prefer it when I don't know people." I thought, and this is from a from a Japanese person. So I thought, okay, that's.
I think that makes perfect sense. It's like when I did the play where I had to be naked, right? Yeah. It was only awkward if my brothers made it awkward. Which
Magic Mike.
that's the one. Yeah, I'm the Mike that it's named after.
Yeah.
But I felt no compunction about doing it at all if it was just like a load of strangers.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as it's people you know, it's terrifying.
Yes, it's just a completely different thing.
Yeah. But they're great. Anyone who goes to Japan, check out the onsen and the sendo because they're glorious.
I'm a big fan of hot water. That's my thing.
Yeah,
that's
it's
my
lovely.
thing. I've built a personality around hot water.
Well then, Japan would suit you.
Yeah, I think so. I'd love to go.
I've heard of this actually. I don't know if it was a friend or a female blogger or whatnot, but they did that and they said that you get so scrubbed.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, you scrub yourself. You're not.
But it's like you have this whole thing. So maybe there's another.
I mean, there's Turkish baths which are where you get.
That's where they use the banyan tree, right, and whack the shit.
Yeah,
out
that's
of you.
that's quite painful. But no, nothing like that. Nothing, I didn't experience that in Japan. No, you wash yourself in Japan. Yeah, if I tried to wash someone else, that might have been quite
Did you see any of the underbelly? Come on, Japan's got a lot of other stuff going on. Did you see tentacle porn? How weird did you get, Alex?
No.
You're quite vanilla sometimes, but I know there's a dark side. Come on.
I'll show you.
Give us a little tidbit.
I'll show you my Yakuza tattoo. So, funnily enough,
I'm poking the bear. Let's see.
Talking of which, on many of the public baths, you are not allowed to go in if you have tattoos.
Really?
And I think it's
that's old school.
because tattoos remind them of the Yakuza.
Oh, shit.
So it's an association.
Organised crime.
Yeah. There are some which are more modernised now where you can, but you've got to check.
Interesting.
And if you've got a little one that you cover with a plaster, then just don't. You're
don't
fine.
talk about it.
Yeah. So, no, the underbelly, I didn't really... I think, sort of
He's pointing a gun at you right now.
Yeah. I didn't experience anything.
What underbelly? There is no underbelly.
There is. Yeah, I am now an ambassador for Japan. I wish. No, I like none of the sort. I didn't see any of the vending machines with knickers in and all that.
Right.
No, I know that you were talking about the hentai, the sort of strange.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, because I suppose that if you wanted to see that, you can see that here. You just go online. Right?
That's very true.
It's not. It's not a sort of novel thing,
Yeah.
If you.
What about the depression? That's obviously that gets talked up a lot in the West. Like people kill themselves a lot and stuff like that. And there's Suicide Forest and all of that.
As I said, I was only there for 2 months, and I was in a very sort of.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a depressing state. Yeah, it sounds great, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would...
What about depression? Yeah. What about darkness and evil?
I want to talk about sushi.
We're talking about bliss right now.
Yeah,
Sorry,
bliss.
I can't help it. It's in me.
Remember,
What
Yes,
can I do?
bliss of the abyss. Indeed. So, I mean, people work... It seems very hard. But my teachers were... So what was nice about when I went is that it reopened post-COVID in October 2022. October 2022.
No, it's quite late.
So not even a year yet since they opened to tourists.
Yeah.
And the school that I joined, the first day that they opened since COVID was the day I started.
Wow.
So there was a really
What
nice...
a unique experience. And everyone must have been so grateful and thankful. And that kind of comes off people, doesn't it? And you can feel it, and then you all join in that together and create something beautiful.
The teachers were so enthusiastic, and every week, sorry, that was a bit of a... every week there was a graduation where you had to do if you were graduating, you had to do a speech, and you had to be presented with a certificate, and there was a whole sort of little ceremony.
I'm all in favour of speeches, mate. They're so good.
I am not, but it's fine.
Well, I mean, if you have to give one in Japanese, I can imagine that'd be scary.
Well, I chose something slightly different, but I'll tell you about it in a minute. But so the teachers, some of them would cry, kind of. It was almost a competition of who could make the teacher cry most by leaving. She's going to miss me. That one's... yeah. She's going to miss me loads. She's going to cry a lot. And then she wouldn't. You're like, what?
Yeah, you see them not, and you're like, let me throw in something.
Yeah,
see
exactly.
if I can get...
Exactly. But they were so enthusiastic and passionate and gorgeous about it. It was lovely. Nice. But no, so instead of a speech, so people can go on and on and on. I chose... I don't want... Excuse me. This is going to sound... It's just going to sound pretentious. It's fine. I tried to write a haiku.
Good luck. Wow. In Japanese, in Japan.
Yeah. Which I was very...
Set the bar high.
So it's quite nice that they know that I'm not Japanese, because if it was clearly terrible, but it was fine because I'm obviously not Japanese.
Yeah, you're sort of allowed a bit of leeway.
Yeah, so it's like, it's
trying.
fine. He's a stupid Westerner. He'll try to do it. It'll fail, but it's fine.
Yes.
But a haiku, but that aside, haiku are not haikus, because they don't have plurals, right?
Right.
So
757.
575.
575.
But it doesn't always have to be. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be that, but that's the sort of general. And what's really nice, you might think, it's really simple. It's just 5-7. But in the traditional ones, you have to include a seasonal word in the first... does it have to be in the first line? Not quite sure. But that doesn't have to mean necessarily spring, summer, autumn, winter, although it can be. It could be green leaves, or maybe a specific animal that only comes out at a certain time. So it means that...
Something that references a season. Some way.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And
I did not know
contrast is, I think, favoured quite highly in haiku. So there's... I'm obviously not going to read out mine, but one of the most famous ones...
Can we not hear it in Japanese, please?
Absolutely not.
Oh, mate, you can't set that up and not deliver.
No, terrible.
Oh, come on.
Dragonfly...
Well, then tell us a speech you would have given.
No. So Dragonfly haiku. So one of the most famous haiku is, and this has been translated into English, so it's not 575, it's just a translation, but this is the translation, is the dragonfly, distant mountains reflected in his eyes. So the contrast there is this tiny little dragonfly with enormous scenery reflected in his minute eyes.
Yeah, right.
So instantly, and I saw your eyes look up, you had the image
I do.
of a tiny, beautiful creature flying with a mountain range in the,
And the
in the
dragonfly
distance.
only lives for a small period of time at a certain point in the year.
Et voila. And that's exactly what I'm assuming is the seasonal element in it.
Right.
So
Very
that's
good.
one of the most famous
Right.
ones.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of
And
that.
it's
And
it's
you've written by you.
and that
that's how he presents
and
it.
that was mine. Yeah. That's my haiku. No,
very much.
alas, not. No, actually, the one of my favorite things about Japan, and I bought one when I was there. So when you enter establishments, restaurants, and some shops, in the more traditional ones, they'll have curtains which don't go all the way to the floor. They can be very short, so they can only be a few inches, or they can be sort of a meter long. And the traditional ones are made of hemp, and they're called norem. And norem are curtains with a split down the middle, and you part them as you go in. And between rooms as well. So my host family had them sometime between rooms. And I loved it. I wanted to write a haiku about what is outside the noren and what is beyond the noren, because they're two different worlds. Right. I think it was traditionally just keep out flies or whatever, but now that they put kanji on them, writing, art, you can have cherry blossoms, whatever it is. Yeah. I think mine has a willow tree on it. And they are ubiquitous in Japan, and they're really beautiful because they sort of flutter of their own accord because they're so delicate in a breeze that you haven't noticed yet. It's very I won't go on, it sounds pretentious, but they're really lovely, and I thought a haiku about a noren would be nice, so I'm going to try.
Did you get a tear?
Not from the haiku. Maybe a tear of disappointment, but no, a tear
of fury.
A tear of fury. How dare he try? No, from the teacher who was presenting me with my certificate, there was certainly crying. I don't know whether. I'm assuming there was.
Someone was crying.
No. She was.
People were devastated.
I am not special. She was emotional when anyone left. I know one person, she didn't get emotional. But that's fine. That person was only there for a week rather than 2 months. So she cried. So it was lovely. It's a lovely way to experience a country, but if you're not into language, then just go. And
I think it could still be great even if you're not into language, because you're immersing yourself and you're living with the family, so you're seeing actually how people do it rather than hoteling and all the rest of it.
But if you're not into language, there are still 2 words which you should learn going to Japan, and that's thank you and the best word for please. You know the word for thank you.
Arigato?
Yeah, so arigato is thank you. You can say arigato gozaimasu. So gozaimasu is like thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, but you can just say arigato.
Lots of it.
And then please, the best way to say please, I think, is onegaishimasu. Onegaishimasu.
This rings a bell. But
Onegaishimasu. So
it's quite a lot though for please. Is there a short version?
Yeah, kudasai, but it's not quite as polite.
It's a bit rude, is it?
It's not rude, but it's more. It's
like
more
you
command.
couldn't be bothered with the other one. Is that
right?
Is
Yeah,
like that?
Kudasai is more. It's more of a command. Like if you were saying to a class, "Be quiet, please." Then you'd say kudasai.
That kind of please, a bit more firm.
I mean, you can use it to ask people to give you things, of course, but it's a bit. But onegaishimasu is onegaishimasu. Exactly. Okay. So you can just point and say. Onegaishimasu.
Yeah, right. That gets you very far.
And then arigatou gozaimasu.
And they're, famously a very polite society. So please and thank you is obviously incredibly important.
Especially
goes a long way.
From a foreigner.
Yeah.
So what would be a very rude thing to do? You know how so many different cultures. So we were reading about with Indonesia for Bali. Don't reach your hand out or something.
What was it? It was about taking things. You should take things with both hands.
Similar. So in Japan, they give you things with both hands.
Yeah.
I probably took things with one hand and probably shouldn't have, but yeah, they give you things and they bow with 2 hands. It's very It's delicate and respectful. Making noise in public, which I greatly respect. Which is probably
that does sound good. That's not a bad rule.
So on the buses and trains, they actually make an announcement saying, "Please do not use." I mean, you can use your mobile phones by texting and listening to music on your headphones.
But don't blare it.
Don't blare it and don't speak. You do not take and make calls on.
Not many people doing TikTok dances in public then and recording it for the gram.
Tokyo, maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure it happens. But
I think if I saw them, I would have blotted them out of my memory. I mean, anyone can do what they want. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah. So no. You what? Oh my god,
I love Japan.
Oh, TikTok, great. No, so yeah, don't make noise in public.
Interesting, that one.
Apparently, sort of eating on while walking is not really a very good idea. But when you're a tourist,
that's kind of looked down.
Do they have street food?
I mean,
is there a street food idea?
Yes.
Surely, because of the little octopus things,
I know,
the little dough balls with
takoyaki.
octopus. Yeah, I don't like
So you
them
really
at all.
walk
But
away, basically, from the stand.
So that's it. I think it's a
you eat it
very
there.
yeah.
all right, okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, good point.
But I mean, yeah. So I would try. I mean, I'm quite a hungry man, so it was quite hard to do. But I would just take it back to school and eat it. But yeah, so that and wearing shoes inside.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
And these are like mistakes that if you fuck up, you have to profusely apologize, and you'll be judged harshly for doing it, kind of thing.
You'll be killed.
The Yakuza are back.
The Yakuza, that's what they are. They're actually the polite police. Yeah. No, I mean the thing is, because you're a foreigner, you get away with more,
right?
Because it's not expected, necessarily.
Well, that sounds quite rigid, though. Then, if you're Japanese and you're sort of not that way inclined, you might sort of rebel against that. I suppose. Maybe. But I was told to be quiet by my host mother on a train. I mean, and I don't like noise on a train. You're very polite, yeah.
So I thought, oh my god, I think I maybe the train was going over a loud bit of track, and I wanted to ask her something, and I upped my volume. I was like, I ain't so sorry. Quiet, you stupid man. So that was fun time. But yeah, so making noise in public, as I would say, the biggest.
I think we're all on board with this rule.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Yeah.
If we have to rewrite the rules of society, that's not a bad one to put in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I am
one.
a grumpy old man. Japan just made it worse, and I love it. I mean, made it better, but worse.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of getting a mental image that people aren't eating on the trains either.
No, they do actually. So, you'll know the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. Brilliant word. It literally just means main trunk line. So it's not a very romantic translation, but the Shinkansen, I just love that word. So the bullet train, the Shinkansen, very, very fast, goes between all the major cities. And the eating on the Shinkansen is sort of a famous ritual. So, you know the concept of, bento boxes?
Yes.
I love a bento.
Agreed, me too.
Packed lunch.
So the word for station in Japanese is eki. And a station bento box is called an ekiben. So they just cut off the dot of bento and it's ekiben. When you go to the main stations or even smaller stations of train lines in Japan, you can buy an ekiben of varying prices and qualities, but obviously even the worst quality is incredibly delicious. And spend a few hundred or 1,000 yen, and then you take that onto the Shinkansen and you eat, because they do serve, but there's snacks on the Shinkansen. But if you've got a 2.5 hour, 3 hour journey, you're going to want something to eat. Yeah. So you get your ekiben with your chopsticks, and they give you a wipe with every single food item that you buy that you'll need to use your hands with.
Now, this is coming back to the environmental thing that you wanted to talk with.
So
those are single-use disposable, terrible for the planet.
Exactly.
But very nice.
Very convenient, because everything is comfortable and convenient. And and then you'll eat them on the train. So yeah, you do.
That makes sense, because a train is like, if you're commuting, if it's a long journey.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, completely. So yeah, the ekiben.
Wow.
We went to Bologna, and Caitlin found this specific place that was like famous for sandwiches, for bologna, as you would call it. Mortadella is obviously the fancy name for it. And it was between stops. We were changing trains, and Caitlin made the beeline for this amazing place. We got these, the sandwiches that they're. Is it a ciabatta? Focaccia. The one where it's like a focaccia, perhaps. Yeah.
Focaccia.
Where it's like
I love focaccia,
mate.
So
cut in the middle.
Nice.
Bit of and some kind of like burrata maybe, or something
delicious. Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, which actually reminds me, when people say, "Oh, Japan, what if you fancy a pizza?" Go get a pizza. They have everything.
Yeah,
they have everything we have, plus Japanese food.
Did you have fried chicken?
Yeah, exactly what I was going to ask.
So the fried chicken in Japan is karaage, and yes,
I love.
But I also went to Seoul for the weekend, Korea.
Oh, did you?
And Korean fried chicken.
Oh, it's one of my favourite foods.
Have I never made you my Korean fried chicken?
No.
Okay.
Next time.
Next Eurovision.
No.
You're not going to see.
No, I'm gonna.
€4.
Oh no, because you're going to. Yeah, that's true. No, you'll come around and I'll make you. So the Korean fried chicken in Korea is.
Oh my god, it's so. I mean, I love it so much.
Yeah, me too.
Gochujang, I could just spoon into my mouth.
Yeah, okay,
but I'm
great.
only having the version here. Like, obviously, it's going to be much better inside.
No, well, sure. No, but so the version what I make is one with gochujang and yeah. So yeah, and actually they sell gochujang in Japan as well. But
Right, of
the Japanese fried chicken karaage is dry, so it's and you might sprinkle lemon on it. I quite like mine with a sauce on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did have fried chicken. Yeah, it was good. Everything I had was great. The food is just extraordinary.
Did you have Western food at any point? Did you?
I had a pizza,
You-
and one of my classmates, he was Italian. It still is Italian actually.
Silly
and sorry, I'm still that dad joke in there. And I sort of was eating it and rather enjoying my pizza, but didn't want to say anything, and turned to look at him and went, "How's the pizza?" He went, "It's actually pretty good." It's like, yes,
Yes.
well done, Japan.
Yeah.
Well done, Japan. So yeah, and the sandwiches are incredible and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they serve lots of.
I mean, we have in Bali. Is it in Bali the Italian restaurant? We have one booked that's like.
We're going to a restaurant called Samisa, and
That sounds amazing.
so they only serve Italian, like a family style, and they only allow 18 guests per slot.
So it's like a trattoria.
Yeah.
It's
something,
like
yeah.
exactly.
And so
Yeah.
what's going to happen is they're going to give 18 courses, but at the table. And
I know.
everyone's just going to pick, and then unlimited limoncello. It's in Bali, and I was like, and it came up as a really amazing restaurant and like
Yeah.
totally bonkers, amazing experience. And I was like, okay,
It's
well,
like
we're having Italian food.
we'll have Italian then.
Absolutely.
We'll do it.
Oh,
You
that's
know?
what's the film the menu.
Oh,
The
yeah.
men.
It
Yeah,
sounds a bit.
yeah.
Is it only one of you will make it out alive? I haven't spoiled that film for anyone else to see it, but yeah,
Fine.
that sounds incredible.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
absolutely.
And obviously, other than that, we're gonna eat all of the Bali stuff.
There's
because-
another one that we're going to go
all
to.
the Bali stuff.
All the Bali stuff,
Yeah,
mate.
you're gonna eat Bali stuff.
What is it? Nasi lemak, is it? Yeah. Oh, go on, chuck it down your neck.
Right, wait.
We are going to another restaurant that I booked called Locavore, and this concept is closing, and they're making another one.
Oh.
And I'm so happy we're getting this concept. They do it as like a gallery style menu, and so everything's going to be given kind of in an art concept.
Yeah.
Wow.
And apparently it's amazing. And they keep trying, but it's all going to be like based in Balinese cuisine, just trying to make it more like Michelin, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Although it's, I don't
This
know.
is
they
all
have-
Caitlin stuff. If this was down to me, we wouldn't be going to any of these places.
Oh, are you not? So
I'm into it. I'm just not very good at organising that kind of shit. I do
Oh,
it on
I
the
see.
hoof. But thankfully, Caitlin is like
So
a
here's
very good planner.
this is good thing that if you go to Japan, go together because Japan rewards organisation.
Oh yeah, right.
I was organising a 9-week. I mean, in January and February, I spent the entire. Organise.
Oh,
You can be spontaneous, but the problem is you haven't done your research and know where to go and what to do. It's quite hard sometimes to do that.
Yeah.
Book your hotels, get the cheapest deals in the nicest places. This is Japan. I'm talking about Japan.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Bali, but I felt like it rewarded my obsession with organising things in advance. If I was thinking about this, if I could organise every day of my life until I died,
Yeah.
as long as I
you
knew
do
there
it.
were some nice things, I'd probably be fine with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, isn't that awful? No,
No, it's not. It's just who you are.
I love structure. I mean, sure, I could maybe organise in some spontaneity time.
Yeah.
For these 2 weeks. So, yeah. That was
Yeah.
something-
We'll be organised
We could
spontaneity.
have some fun here, and then some not here. So, yeah. That's fine, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I think I would. Whereas you wouldn't.
No.
Or would you mind if someone else did it for you?
No, not at all. It's great, in fact.
So you want a PA. So, Caitlin, are you Rob's PA?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not all the time. Not all the time. And in fact, he'll step up to be my PA. sometimes,
Yes.
which
Good.
is
That's good.
Exactly.
It's just that in terms of like what we both think about in terms of holidays and fun, sometimes your brain goes in one direction and mine goes in the other. And
Yeah.
we meet in the middle, which is quite good.
But that's in terms of tastes of things that you might want to do.
So we're fine with what we want to do. It's just
Yeah.
that the style and the approach.
Oh, I see.
I'm more on the
That would be
organized
it.
side, and he's more on that.
I'm-
We do things on a whim, and
Yeah,
we've
maybe.
done both. At first, I was terrified when we did a trip to Costa Rica and didn't book absolutely everything.
Yeah.
But because of that, we were able to extend our stay in a place that was really special.
Absolutely. Of course, there are advantages. My thing is always, I could have saved a bit of cash there, and that means I'll be able to do that thing
Yeah.
rather than
I'm more on this side, right? My brain
sure.
likes having.
or
that.
missing out. Like, for example, if you like Studio Ghibli, there are there's a theme park now, but there's also a museum in Tokyo, and they release. It's very cheap, so only about £6, but they release very limited number of tickets,
Right.
and they come on sale on the 10th of the month for the next month,
Right.
and they're gone in 12 minutes or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
But they open at 10 a.m. Tokyo time, which I think was 1 a.m. So I stayed up. It's the only time I've ever sort of stayed up, and I felt like sort of click, 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 and I got one for myself.
Right.
But there were people who said to me, "Oh, I'm going to Tokyo. Can I go to the Ghibli Museum?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. You're already too late. It was like, I mean, we did that for the David
Yeah.
when we went to Florence. It's a similar type thing. It's incredibly difficult to get it,
Right.
and they sell out like that.
Yeah.
And you get a tiny little window
Absolutely.
in which to do it, and
Yeah.
that's it.
And
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
then, we had our ticketed slot. We were an hour late. Like we weren't late. We were waiting in line, and
Yeah.
they were an hour late.
Oh, sure. So
That's
fine.
it.
Right. So,
Yeah.
But that's how packed it is. Is that you'll be waiting in this crazy line. You're like, well, my ticket slot has passed.
Yeah.
But glad we had it because the people who wanted to buy it on the day,
But that,
and they did wait.
There was a line that snaked around so many blocks.
Maybe I'll modify that. Do your research before
Do your
going to
research
Japan.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Right.
Do extensive research. Just
Yeah.
call me up and I'll tell you what to do.
There we go.
But there's a lot of stuff that makes your journey really wonderful if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't, it just makes it really inconvenient.
No, and I really do appreciate it more and more. Like the place, again, back to Florence, but the place we stayed in Florence had an underground pool in a natural cave as part of it. And there's no way we would have been able to get that because it's booked up the whole time, right? But because we pounced on it and found it,
Exactly.
we got it.
Yeah.
Right? So that is an element of sort of planning. But then you can stumble into those things sometimes. And then that's all the more interesting because you're like, oh man, I'd have never guessed that we'd end up here.
So obviously I would do that when I'm walking around new cities. That's what I like to do. Just walk without planning.
Yeah.
Because you
Love
find
a
things.
walk.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's I suppose it's the research. Like I would have done the research and this is a great place to walk around and you can find some hidden spots. Great.
Right, exactly. It's not going in fully blind. I'm a bit more like that. I'll be like, well, we're not just going to walk anywhere. We're going to also know that this is the district where they have these kinds of shops.
Yeah.
This is where there's that museum that's over the river or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's not complete blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different styles, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right?
And sometimes I'm
But
pro
mine
that.
is right and yours is wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. No, this trip we still haven't. We're going on Friday and we still don't have everything booked, which is so rare for me.
What is it that you don't have booked?
So we have all the travel booked. We don't have a tour booked, but there's one where we realize they're going to be tours like everywhere.
Yeah, there's one place we're going where we can visit Komodo, but you can't stay on Komodo. Oh, you
Same
can, but it's
forest,
like there's
yeah.
one small guest house.
What do you like the dragon?
Kind of thing.
Yes,
Yes,
the dragon.
like the dragons. We're going to see
And
the
I think
dragons.
beach.
Although it's mating season. But the place.
So are you going to wear
you
a
might-
Komodo dragon
Well,
suit
I mean,
to attract?
they're pretty vicious. I don't know if I want to get
The
involved.
one that have so
Is
are they the ones that have so much bacteria in their mouths that they bite you?
That's how you
die.
die.
You
You
die from
slowly
slow
get
infection.
poisoned. Yeah,
Delightful.
exactly.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I really
But the
wanna see
place
Yeah.
that you have to stay, which I don't know how to pronounce, but it's spelled Labuan Bajau. That's the
Yes.
only reason that place exists is to feed the tourist industry that goes there.
Yeah,
So there'll be a billion places trying to sell us a boat trip.
of course.
And they'll all be in that.
And they'll all be around the same. So we
All
have
be
to
in
book
that business.
fully.
But we should book the hotel
And we haven't booked the
because
hotel, but
otherwise-
that's the thing we're gonna
for that.
book soon.
Yeah.
Before we get there,
Hmm.
and there's one other thing that we have to book. But
Yeah.
it's strange.
Mm.
I want to do a cooking experience.
So I did a few cookery courses in Japan. Do it. It's such fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the,
And again, that's worth booking. That's the kind of
Yeah.
thing that you...
Although actually, I because I didn't know my schedule, I booked those, but I still booked them as sort of right. In a month, I will be doing that because I was there for 2 months, so I could. So yeah, but booking cookery courses is really lovely because of course you then get to eat it.
Yeah, and in this particular place, like they're working with the entire village. It's in Ubud. And we are actually doing a farm to table concept. So it's so out of
And you go
all
to the market.
It's an actual.
Nice.
They take you to the
Yeah.
market, but also they have a farm, and so you pick from their farm to do the cooking, and that seems a bit different from the other ones that seem to be offered in Bali at the moment.
Fair.
Yeah, well, there'll be some super westernized. Like Bali is so catered for making life too easy, kind of
Look,
thing.
there's always going to be an element of sort of touristy
Yeah,
to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And well, this is why I stayed in host family, because. But that's fine. You sort
That's
of
just
you
part
sort
of the game, isn't it?
You're aware that you are a tourist in that
Yeah.
country, and maybe someone who is from there wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Right.
But if you enjoy it and it's an enriching experience, then
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
The reason why I mentioned the cooking class is because we have the choice, if we want to stay with them, to stay with the family.
Nice. Okay.
Which I want to do.
Yeah, so we're just trying to figure it out, because I don't want
Sure, book it.
because we could have 2 classes, like, and then you stay, and then they didn't.
Yeah, there's one
anything
option
about
where
the
it's like, you're here for 17 hours type thing. You're like, I might have cooked enough before then, but...
Maybe. Well, just you could email them and ask them.
Yeah, so I started a conversation. I just need to.
Just need to nail that one down.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's another
Well,
thing. That we
I
have to-
very much look forward to hearing all about it.
So in conclusion, Japan sucked. Don't book anything.
Yeah, very
and the
boring.
Yakuza are cool. I mean,
Yeah.
have I got all of the right... can we please hear your haiku? Please.
I don't think I've got. I haven't got
Alex,
it.
Okay.
stop
Okay.
lying to me.
No, I haven't got it. It's in a notebook at home.
Outrageous.
Buried.
It's in a notebook at home.
It's ashes in a big fire
yeah.
in Japan.
Exactly. No, it's in a notebook. I bought a notebook, so I'm going to fill it.
But that would be such a good way to close the episode if you could do it. Just make one up. We wouldn't know.
Make
Pretend
one
to
up?
read from your phone.
Ooh, terrible.
Read the Japanese. What was it called? The butterfly. It wasn't a butterfly. It was the dragonfly.
Yeah, no,
Give us the dragonfly. one.
No, because I don't know.
come on.
Wonderful, Alex.
Oh, here
Okay,
she
let's-
goes.
Thank you for
She's
joining us. Wait, thank you for joining us
here.
here. Last line.
Oh, now go to hell, dick.
So actually, there are comic haiku, so that could be classified as one of those.
Could be. Not. It wasn't that funny. It could be.
Thank you for your time.
Just testing it in advance.
It's been a real pleasure. See you soon, you dicks.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you've enjoyed it, please give us 5 stars and consider becoming a subscriber and maybe even supporting us on Patreon. Really helps me continue making this show. If you haven't enjoyed it, then you can fuck off. Many thanks to Nils Hennis-Steer for the amazing music and to Dave Fox for the cool artwork. Please keep coming back every week for more Bliss of the Abyss.
You have one message. Message 1.